Hey, how are you doing? I am Vigar, and today I am showing you how you can use a single external power brick to power your eGPU. So what I have right here is the Dell DA-2 power brick. It is a 12 volt 18 amps power supply, so it supplies just over 200 watts, but I wouldn't really push it to 200 watts, but you can definitely rely on about 180 watts of power from this thing. Now, I bought this from eBay for about $20, which is not too bad at all. What you get is basically the power brick itself, which has a normal power connector. So you just need to buy a power cable that fits with the power outlet where you live, which costs basically nothing. And on the other side, you get something that looks like an 8-pin connector. Now, I have the kind of finished product on here already, but if you look at the black part, basically what you get is an 8-pin connector, but you can't really just put an 8-pin adapter on this thing because the pin layout on this cable is not standard. It is proprietary to the Dell DA-2. So as you can see, I am not using just an 8-pin connector on. If you do, you're gonna short out the power supply and probably break it, so you shouldn't really do that. What you can do is do what I have done, is you just buy a female 6-pin power connector to dual 6-pin male connectors. Then what you want to do is you take the 6-pin female connector, and if you can see relative to the clip pin on the Dell DA-2, you connect it so that the ground wires, the black wires, are towards the pin, and the 2 pins on the Dell DA-2 part should not be connected. The 6-pin really only fits one way onto this. It might take some force to push it on because it's not really made to fit, but if you use some force, you're definitely going to get the adapter on. So just take a look. If you have the pin, the clip pin of the Dell DA-2 on this side, you just plug the 6-pin on with the ground cables or the black cables towards the pin, and you put it at the 6 leftmost pins. Now the 2 pins that are left over needs to be grounded to the actual adapter itself. So when you look at the cable this way and you have the pin on the left, what you want to do is you take a paper clip from the leftmost pin on the Dell DA-2. As you can see, I have a paper clip going down into that one, up and into this leftmost and first pin on the 6-pin adapter. So as you can see, the paper clip is just connected straight down there to this pin, the leftmost pin that is closest to you when you hold the Dell DA-2 plug like this. And you should probably use electrical tape instead of just normal tape that I've done to seal it up. But that's basically what you have to do in order to connect the adapter to the Dell DA-2. From there you can adapt these to just whatever you like. Basically, you can probably get an adapter from a single 6-pin to an 8-pin or something like that. My GPU only requires a single 6-pin, so this setup works great for me. I have a 960, which doesn't really require that much power. It requires about 100 watts under full load. So I can just take one of the pins and just plug it into the GPU, and then I plug the brick to the wall and I power up the enclosure itself. This is the Akitio Thunder 2, so I power the enclosure itself with its power plug. That then gives me the power that I need, but that requires still 2 external power bricks, because I'm going to need the Dell DA-2 and the enclosure's power supply itself. But what you can do, if you have a GPU that doesn't require more than 100 watts, you can take a 6-pin connector, you can remove the pin head right here so that you get the 3 yellow wires and the 3 black wires. The 3 black wires are the 3 ground cables, and these are the 12 volts. And what you can do is you can, if you know what to do, you can solder these 6 cables into a single DC barrel that will fit into the back of your enclosure. But I don't recommend doing that if you don't know what you're doing. You can buy pre-made adapters that does exactly this on eBay, and I'm gonna link it down in the description alongside with the Dell DA-2 and an adapter like this, which then basically allows you to plug one of them into the GPU, or if your GPU requires more than a single 6-pin, you can just adapt this plug into what you need. Then you take this one and connect to the DC barrel adapter, or you do it yourself if you know what you're doing. And you just plug then the DC barrel that you have connected here instead into the DC barrel plug on your enclosure. Now the enclosure itself needs about 25 watts of power to power the PCIe slot. No, this does not need 75 watts to power the PCIe slot. Just check the product page for any Thunderbolt 1 or Thunderbolt 2 enclosures. They do not give 75 watts through the PCIe slot, only 25. And in total, including those 25 watts, the whole enclosure is going to use 65 watts of power. So that is why I'm saying you can only do this with the Dell DA-2 if you have a GPU that uses less than 100 watts of power, because you need the extra power to power the enclosure itself if you want to use the Dell DA-2 for both the enclosure and the GPU itself. The only reason that I haven't made this into a DC barrel yet is that simply I don't use my eGPU that much anymore, because I have my desktop that sits right there, and I haven't basically gotten to it yet. This video took me about 6 months to actually make, so because I've been busy, so I haven't had time to actually convert this into a DC barrel. But I definitely will in the future, or I might just buy an adapter that is pre-made. Those are pretty cheap on eBay. So yeah, that is how you can power your eGPU with a single external power brick instead of having to use an ATX power supply. Now, if you have Thunderbolt 3, please do not buy a Thunderbolt 2 enclosure or a Thunderbolt enclosure that does not have a power supply. I do recommend getting the Akitio Thunder 3, which is the Thunderbolt 3 version of this enclosure. It is bigger, so it fits full-size graphics cards. This is an ITX 960, which has about 2mm clearance. And this is, as you can see, a really small graphics card. But the Akitio Thunder 3 is bigger, so that it fits full-size GPUs. I think you basically can fit any dual slot GPU into it. It also has either a 300 watt or a 500 watt PSU in it, so you don't have to get a Dell DA-2 and adapt it like this. And that box is going to cost you basically the same as the Akitio Thunder 2 and the Dell DA-2. So if you have Thunderbolt 3, don't buy this, don't do this, just go get the Akitio Thunder 3, which has a power supply in it. All the links you need to buy the Dell DA-2, a pin adapter, and possibly a DC barrel adapter is going to be down in the description. Like this video if you found it useful, maybe share it with a friend that also has an eGPU, and subscribe to the channel for more eGPU content and technology like this. Thank you for watching.